Sharpie, a sharp hook introduction, 70%. Hola, simple introduction, 20%. Stick, make sure your conclusion is memorable and it sticks, 90%. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Today I want to talk to you about how I learned some steps, what world champions do. Why am I so fascinated about it? Because I am probably the oldest member in Toastmasters because when I was 32 years old, I'm 67 now. That's almost 35 years ago. I was working at Riverside General Hospital as an office assistant, and I was going to law school at evening because my wife said, we got to get more money and so on. I had to have a kid. And anyway, it's a long story, but I joined Toastmasters because I want to have speaking skills. I heard that if you improve your speaking, you can make more money and so on. You could advance in your job. In that 4 years, I competed one time and one time only, one and done. I went all the way to semifinals in those days. It's called Region 2, but they didn't have other countries, just US. That's equivalent semifinals today. And I said, this last time I just competed just a few months ago, at least I should at least hit semifinals. I did that when I was half my age. I didn't have as much life experiences. I didn't speak as much. I wasn't, over the years, I spoke a lot as a teacher and as a church member, youth minister, and so on. I said, for sure, I'm going to become at least semifinals, maybe finalists, and maybe the world champion. And I said, I have the best speech possible. There's no way. This is the best. No one can beat me. And I won the area, and then I did not win on the division. I asked the Lord, Lord, why? And you know what the Lord told me? Stop moaning and groaning. Just keep learning. Keep speaking. Keep practicing. Well, here's where I learned. I studied some world champions. Today, I'm going to talk to you what a world champion speech looks like. A world champion speech has a sharp hooking introduction, has a simple hola body, and a conclusion that's memorable and it sticks. And I follow the 70, 20, 90% rule. You said, where did I get that? From Brother Carey. 3 weeks ago, he talked about an introduction needs to be 70% of your effort. Because people remember first impressions sticks. People only remember 20% of your body. So you don't make it simple, that 20% is going to be 0%. You got to make it simple. And then the 90%, you got to put the most because that's the most recent thing that they hear from you. The power of recency. So you got to put 90% of your effort and also 90% of your impact is in the conclusion. So Sharpie, a world champion speech has a sharp, hooking introduction. How do you do that? I studied the world champions. I gave a speech at Lexington, but I thought I gave it to you guys, but I did not. But it's in YouTube. It's there in my YouTube handle is there. You can just look it up, hooking, and I spoke to Lexington. And I gave him more details, but right now, because of my time, I'm just gonna summarize. S stands for storytelling. Storytelling. Almost every world champion start with world champion story, or they do a blend of this. H is humor. Carrie is a prime example of humor. He's kind of naturally type of, but if you are not that humorous like me, naturally like Carrie, just memorize some lines. I memorize some lines from Byron. Here in Lexington, it's great. It's the equine capital of the world. Beautiful horses and fast women. See, those are things I just remember from Byron. So if you're not that humorous naturally, just remember humorous lines. Have a whole anecdote, just put it in your stories that's funny. A, ask the audience. So I'm gonna ask you, what in the outline there on the one pager, what does R stand for? That's it. So that's called ask the audience, ask audience engagement. I just did that. I just get it by example. So what is in your mind? You may say, what is a simple fact? What is a remarkable simple fact? Do you know that you can lose 1% of your body mass every year after 50? That's called a remarkable simple fact. Don't make it too complicated. If you make it too complicated, people will say, no, make it remarkable simple fact. And what is P stands for? What does P stands for? Sharp. What does P stand for? Prop or demo. There it goes, right there. That's a prop. That's a prop. And that's a prop. So I've given you what world champions do. They used to blend them too. Last year's world champion, he kissed the floor and said, "What did I do?" And basically, he combined a physical demo plus engaging the audience plus some humor in his hook. Then he goes, "Good morning, fellow Toastmasters." That's what he did. He hook it, then greet. Hook, then greet. First 8 seconds is the most important. You don't catch them in the first 8 seconds, they kind of written you off a little bit in a polite way in their mind. You get that, everything else is very easy. Now, what's the second part? What's the body? What is the body? What's the acronym? OLA. What does O stands for? 1 to 5 points. Don't make it too much. The key is actually 3 points. But 1 to 5, sometimes it doesn't fit 3 points. Sometimes you need 5 points. That's why I put 1 to 5. But you can play around. So 1 to 5. Okay, what's the next one? Low side or low key or low side method. I learned that. Actually, I already learned. I took a lot of memory courses. I know that. But David reminded me last time when he was a general evaluator, when I forgot the third point. He said, just put your items that you remember, put in the houses. I mean, in the rooms, and when you go into a room, you just put certain things. So when I saw in my left, when I get into my house, it's a dog cage, my beloved Snow White, because she's all white. She's beautiful. It's Great Pyrenees. So my first point was walking early in the morning, sunlight, 30 minutes, because you're in the fastest state. It's 100% fat burning. That's the secret of losing weight and getting healthy and staying young. So I would remember the dog, the walking, all kinds of pictures of walking in grass over there to remember first point. Second point is my bathroom. Instead of bathroom, I put a breakfast sign, and I put a lot of high protein, lean protein stuff, maybe chicken breasts and all that, and green leafy vegetables to say. The second key learning I learned recently is that in addition to the morning walk, I also eat a high protein, high fiber, non-starchy carbs. I forgot the third point. My third point is stairway. And it is 2 times a week of weight training for 1 hour. I do it Wednesday and Friday. But I forgot. What I did was, David said, just put a bunch of weights there and flying and, in that stairway, rolling down barbells. Now I will never forget. I will never forget. Another way is just use your body. Oh. All right. So what's the last point? What's the last point? What's the how do you have an ending that's memorable? Yes. What's the acronym? Stick. You ever see a gymnast do everything well and then the last end, it did not stick. You cannot get a 10 that way. But remember Nadia Comaneci? Boom! Ha! 10. The first lady in the gymnast. Because her landing stick. How do you get a memorable ending? Show, stick, show a story. Summarize. T, tell a story. I, inspire emotion. C, call for action. Tonight, start writing your speech, your world champion speech, because I gave you the keys. Memorize it by Ola. And then knock out punchline. You know, a lot of you said, now I know how to write a speech, but I'm just not sure I'm a world champion. Just say high quality question in first 5 minutes. Why am I a world champion speaker? Let's say that together. Why am I a world champion speaker? Do it 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes of the day. Do it every day for 30 days. Your identity will shift. You know how to write. Now you will know that you are a world champion and you'll be smooth. You will be full of energy and you will speak like a world champion. Back to you.
1 minute, please, of silence. Evaluation forms.